In this part of the lesson, we're going to learn how to use breakpoints in your code. A breakpoint allows you to run certain parts of a subroutine quickly and other parts slowly, which is really helpful when you only want to step through a small part of a large subroutine. So I've started by downloading the file and extracting it, so I'm going to double click on this now to open it up. And if necessary, click on the Enable Content button to allow my code to run, then to the Developer tab and click the Visual Basic button to launch the VB editor. In this example, what I'd like to be able to do is run the first few lines of code as quickly as possible, but then pause when it reaches this line here that sets the value of cell A3 to be equal to the current time. To set a breakpoint, I can do several things. The easiest is to simply click into the grey bar to the left-hand side of the line of code that you want to set the breakpoint on. If I do that, you can clearly see that the breakpoint is indicated with this sort of murky reddy-brown colour. An alternative way to do this would be to click onto this line of code and then I can click on the hand symbol on the debug toolbar. So I can click on this to toggle the breakpoint on and off. I could also press the F9 key on the keyboard to switch the breakpoint on and off for the line of code on which the flashing text cursor is currently sitting. Just before I run this subroutine, I'm going to rearrange my screen so that I can see both the VB editor window and the Excel window in the same screen. And then, clicking somewhere within the subroutine, I can choose to run it. So I can do that by either clicking the Run button or using the Run menu or pressing the F5 key. When I do this, you'll see that the first few instructions have been carried out already. So I've added a new worksheet, you can see that's appeared. I've set the value of cell A1 to be equal to YSOWL and then assigned the current date to cell A2. But it's now paused on the line that I set the breakpoint on. From this point, I can either continue running the subroutine with the continue button, or I could use the F8 key to step through, which is what I'm going to do now. So I press F8, I'll see that it runs that single instruction, and then I can carry on stepping through the other parts, or just end it, or run it all the way through to the end. So I'm going to click the continue button at this stage to run all the way through to the end of the subroutine. In longer, more complex procedures, it can be useful to have multiple breakpoints, and I can set as many breakpoints in the same subroutine as I like. So I'm going to set another breakpoint on the columns a.autofit statement. I can now begin running the subroutine again by pressing F5, and that will run to and pause at the first breakpoint. I'll press the F8 key now to step through that single instruction to see that that one works by itself. If I now press F5 again, the next few lines will run as quickly as possible, and then it will pause on the next breakpoint. So again, I can then press the F8 key to step through that single instruction, and then that reaches the end of my subroutine, so I can press F8 again to make sure that the subroutine is ended, and I've exited break mode. We've seen that we can enable and disable individual breakpoints using several different techniques. It's also worthwhile knowing that you can remove all of the current breakpoints using an option in the debug menu. If I head to the debug menu, there's an option that says clear all breakpoints. There's also a keyboard shortcut, Control and Shift and F9. If I select that, all of the breakpoints will be removed. It's worthwhile knowing as well that that will happen when you close down the workbook, so breakpoints aren't saved along with a file, they'll be removed when you close down the file.